Hi, I'm Jason Sterling, and this is another episode of Gentrification. And as you can see today, this is a very special episode. We're starting at the end. We're starting at the end of this particular build. This was the gentrification of the starter here in Henford on Bagley from the Cottage Living pack, Cottage Living expansion pack. A big favorite with Simmers, that pack was. A big favorite of mine. I really do like this pack. Now, here's what happened. Why are we at the end? I actually recorded this last night here in Oklahoma, and out of nowhere, like a major storm swept up, and my power blinked off literally just like that, just literally a blink, and the computer, of course, shut down. Now, through some miracle, I had actually saved this. This is not the furthest I got with this build, but this is pretty close to when that happened. I had just saved the game. But I had not stopped the video recording yet. So when that flash happened and the computer shut off, I lost all that video, right? I've still got a file, but the file, of course, is unreadable because it didn't end properly. So that's why we're here at the end with this sort of cottage, a little cottage we're going to do, and I'm going to jump back in. We're gonna reset this lot. I'm gonna rebuild it to this point, starting now. Okay, so here we go. This is the original lot. This is like Cobblebottom Street here, 5 Cobblebottom Street, and this is the original lot. As you can see, it's not bad. It's not a bad little house. I don't know if this was made by Maxis or if they farmed it out to a creator. This was certainly around the time that Maxis started farming out builds to creators in the community. One reason why I think it's a Maxis build is because the windows are all the way up at the roof, right? Or all the way up the ceiling. I don't know why they do that, but Maxis tends to place the windows all the way up against the ceiling on the interior. Also, it has a bathroom that no one has ever seen in reality. Right. Now, usually the bathrooms are a little bit bigger than this if it's Maxis. So that's one point against it being a Maxis build. But I've never seen a bathroom laid out like this, like in my life. That doesn't mean it couldn't happen. It could happen. But that's what leads me to think this was actually a Maxis build. It's stuff like that. It's stuff like that. Also, it seems a little weird that this is a lovely house. This is a lovely house. You know, the outside dimensions and stuff look lovely. However, it's not really a cottage, is it? It doesn't feel like a cottage to me. It does just feel like a house, like a regular kind of, almost a suburban home, almost a suburban house. So we're going to turn it into a cottage. Now, one of the other things that I think is really weird about this particular lot is that the way the world is formed, and I don't know, maybe the lot was made before the world was formed. So maybe whoever made it just knew that it was going to be a 20 by 30 lot. So they just built something that would fit on a 20 by 30 lot. But as you can see here, we've got this set of steps and a partial sidewalk should lead up to the front of the house. I mean, the house should be kind of centered on that. They've used terrain paint to put in a sort of stone walkway, you know, kind of here, a sort of patio, I guess, or something. But it doesn't really line up. And I think that's kind of odd. I really think that it is kind of odd. And that's one of the first things I'm actually going to move. I'm going to move the entire lot. I'm going to slide it down here a little bit. This opening onto the street, the opening where the lot and the world meet, is about 6 grid spaces across, and the front of the house is pretty much 5 grid spaces across. We're gonna try to treat it like 6. I just need to decide what is the best way to line this up. I'm gonna line it up like this. Now, I've done this already. You know, I've done this build. I just can't remember exactly how I did it, but that is what I was thinking when I did it. Should I line it up like this? Yes, I think so. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and let's take a look at our price. That's the other thing about this lot. I almost forgot when I was first building it, when I was first recording this. This lot's pretty expensive. It comes in at like $19,865. So if you're a single sim, it was a pretty expensive lot, right? you'd only have $135 left, I guess, when you started playing, which is a pretty small amount to start the game with. Now it does have 2 bedrooms, so maybe it's meant more for a starter family. We're going to keep it as 2 bedrooms, and we're going to keep it as a starter price. I'm going to try to bring that price down a little bit. I would like to see it more in line with around 19,250 maybe, so you have about $750. I really like to start a single sim with about $1,000 left over from the house, from buying the house, along with some skill building items within the home. Hopefully from a new pack. That's what I like to see done when I'm building something. I'll go with about $750 left over, but I want enough left over that the player hopefully can choose maybe something themselves that they'd want to see in the home, and they have a little bit of money to buy food without selling a window, until their job kicks in. Now, moving this house over has already saved us some money. It's already saved us some money because this fencing is ridiculously expensive, this hedge fencing. We're going to take all of that out. I'm not going to use that, not for a starter. Now, if this was a money is no object type of build, I would use it. Maybe, I probably would. But this stone fencing is only $10 per section. So any place that we actually have to have fencing, we'll just use the stone fencing instead. We're going to keep the chicken coop here, and we're going to keep our garden, our little garden plots there. The landscaping, I don't know how much of this we'll keep. I guess all of it. I mean, I'll probably keep all of it. What I'm going to try to do, a lot of times when I'm doing a starter, I do fall back on this idea of debug. I use the debug menu especially for landscaping because there are a lot of landscaping items in debug that cost zero, right? They cost absolutely zero. And in some ways, I kind of think that's fair. I mean, like these wildflowers, I mean, literally a packet of wildflower seeds costs like 10 cents. I guess. I don't know how much it costs. But I'm going to guess it costs like 10 cents, right? And you just throw them on the ground and they grow like crazy. So you really don't need to pay for wildflowers, I don't think, and stuff like that. And a lot of places, if you move, it's going to have a tree on the lot. It might have just some natural growing trees there. So I kind of justify it to myself that it's okay to go ahead and use free debug for landscaping for that reason, right? For that reason. Now I'm going to go through, I'm going to erase all of this existing terrain paint because I'm going to do things quite a bit differently as far as the landscaping goes. And I'm not going to use that sort of paving material out there for like a patio type of area. Now, I hope you noticed, hope you made a note. I might keep that. We'll see. I'll probably use something different, but I might keep that over there for now. I did have terrain paint on that finished, what we started with, where we're headed. I did have terrain paint. I did use terrain paint. So I really felt like I'd stepped out of the box for myself on that one. I totally did. And so it was kind of heartbreaking that I lost that video. But you'll get to see me using terrain paint all over again this time. And put this over here. Now, I think, with the front porch, we're also not going to go with a deck like this. It's fine. There's not really anything wrong with this sort of deck area. Wait, how much was that real quick? That was one thing I need to see here. It's like, is it really $1,000? I guess it says it's like $1,000 for those stairs. We're not going to use those stairs. We're going to take that out. Might as well just erase it. I don't think it was quite that much, but that is what was coming across. This sort of deck entrance, I really don't know in regard to England, but as an American with a stereotypical view of England, and especially English cottages, this looks more like an American setup to me, like a rural American type of home will have this sort of deck on the exterior, especially for maybe a manufactured home that they'll bring out to the site fully built. A lot of times you'll see the owner will put a sort of deck around near the front door like that to act as a front porch. We're not going to do that. We're going to just leave this as kind of a little stoop kind of front porch coming up. And then to make this feel a little more centered and a little bit more just in line with this world, I'm going to move the door over here, make it a little bit off-centered with this wall so that it lines up with our walkway. So when you're walking up the center of the walkway and the center of those stairs, you're walking on a direct path up to the front door. Now, I could change all this and make all this very symmetrical. Like always, just in case you haven't seen the builds I do with this sort of series, if I'm doing a starter, like I'm rehabbing a starter like this, and kind of showing like how I would have done it, if I had been doing it from the start, how I would have done it. I do maintain the original footprint, and I maintain the original number of bedrooms. So it'd be real easy for me to take bedrooms out, erase all the walls, make this a modern build, and save money. I do want to try to keep sort of the spirit of the idea. We want to make something that is going to fit with this particular world. Now I'm going to take a little bit more of a fairy tale type of bit to it, you know, and I want it to be a lot more like a cottage than a house, but we're going to keep a starter price. We're going to maintain this particular footprint. So, you know, I'm not going to make it smaller or anything like that to save money. We're going to maintain the footprint, and we're going to maintain the number of bedrooms so that this can still be used for a family. And, you know, let's go ahead and we'll take a look here on the interior. Most of this stuff I'm going to just get rid of. Like, I'm not going to keep pretty much any of this. The weird thing, again, with this build is there are new appliances with this build that are not very expensive, and I was kind of surprised, you know, seeing it that they didn't go ahead and use those, but they did not. But that really surprises me when we have new stuff with a build when it's not used, unless it's just really, really expensive. And again, like in this case, it isn't. We're going to be able to use the refrigerator and the stove that came with this pack without any trouble. So I don't know why they didn't do it. This I'll hold on to. I don't know if I'm going to keep using it. I know I'm not going to use that bed again because there is a new bed with this particular pack that is a double bed. We'll keep the kids' bed, but we just really don't need to keep the double bed. There is a new one that is not going to raise our price or overall price that much. Now, I am going to leave the bathroom here in this particular spot. I'm not going to use that tub or that sink or that mirror, but I'll keep the same toilet. We're going to move the toilet here. We'll get rid of that kind of decorative item. The other thing that kind of makes me feel like it might be a Maxis build is because they did put in something like a decorative towel bar. Again, with starters, I rarely put a decorative towel bar in. I really don't put this toilet paper in either. This is a starter build, and in real life, if I didn't have a little toilet bar there, right, I just set the toilet paper on the back of the toilet. So I feel like you're poor. This is a poor person's home. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to change this wallpaper ultimately as well. And I'm going to bring this in. Let's start working on this place. We're going to bring this in. We're going to move the living room here to the end. We're going to have the kitchen dining area as you walk in. And I want to have the feeling. I want to have the feeling of a long hall, because part of what I want to do with this build is I want to have the sense that it started as one particular section, like maybe the middle section, and over time it was added onto and expanded to accommodate, say, like a bigger family, like a growing family. That's where we're headed. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make this room larger, and in fact I'm going to pull this out like that, as I recall, right? Because I have already built this. Let me pull this in. We're going to open up this space that's going to become our living room, like so. We'll do like this. We're going to bring this over. We'll bring the chair over. The colors of this stuff I'm going to change. Now I'm going to keep this particular furniture simply because that's what came with the pack. And so I am going to go ahead and use it. I don't know if I'm going to keep like these end tables. In fact, I'm almost positive I'm not going to keep the end table because there's a new end table with this pack as well. And in the build I just did, the finished build, I did swap out the end tables. Now, as I'm rebuilding this, I might change my mind on some stuff. That's part of what might happen here. We'll see. But yeah, no, I don't keep that end table. There are new end tables with the pack. Most of this lighting I don't keep either. I'm going to leave it here for now. We'll swap it out here in a little bit. Now, here in the back, we're going to start changing around the roof, right? We're going to start changing around the roofing. we're going to take this particular roof, bring it all the way out. We're going to take this particular roof and we're going to delete it. Right here, because we've got a little bit of a spot left, and I want to keep a certain sort of symmetry, right, to this build. I don't want to have to put a partial roof here to cover up. I don't want to deal with the hassle of trying to put a partial roof here to cover up that one little spot. We're going to make this a chimney now. Now, the weird thing too is that this house does have a chimney, and yet there was no fireplace in this house. So again, when I'm building a starter, if there's no fireplace in the house, I'm not going to put a chimney on the roof. Why spend the money on that? In this case, there is going to be a chimney on the roof because there's going to be a fireplace in the house. We're going to add one to it. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to take this particular roof off. What I want to do here, this is where the bathroom is, and I'm going to leave the bathroom there, but I want to change it into something that looks a little bit more like a sort of lean-to type of addition, just kind of a sort of inexpensive sort of addition where they call it a lean-to. I don't know why they call it a lean-to. That's what I've heard it called, and I've always kind of imagined that it has something to do with the fact that it's just kind of leaned up against the side of the building. So like the support for this little box is really this building is this little box's support, you know, it's just kind of leaned up against it. And so that's why I call it a lean-to. I really don't know if it has a different name or not. We're going to get rid of that roof line though as well. And then we're going to bring this roof out like that. This roof is going to change quite a bit again because I want it to be like a cottage, you know, so we're going to give it a little bit more of a rounded roof there, and we're going to bend it around a little bit, you know, kind of like this, give it kind of a little bit of a wave form to it. We're going to change this one quite a bit too, if you may remember from that quick shot there at the first. But we'll go ahead and we'll grab our tile there and throw it on top of our lean-to, a new lean-to roof. A lot of times I feel like too with the lean-to roof, it is just a simple roof like this. It's not any sort of angled roof. It could be, but I think it's usually just kind of a real simple sort of, you know, slant roof, right? It's pretty easy to build. Like someone definitely built that themselves, like the homeowner, you know. We're going to take this roof out. We're going to pull this out like this, so it covers more of the roof as a whole. And we're going to also take this roof out. So we're going to take a lot of the roofing out. In fact, most of it, really. We took most of the roofing out. I'm going to copy this because I want the exact same lines. And we're going to put it here, move it in, bring it all the way over. And we're going to do the same thing all over again. We're going to do it here. We'll bring that down like that. So we're going to have a nice little kind of, again, sort of a wave form here. Now I can see a little bit of, you know, this sort of line of the roof sticking out there. We're going to fix that here in a little bit. We're going to go through and kind of tinker with a little bit and kind of fix it. I don't know why that little piece there is different. You know, I didn't notice this in the first one, and I didn't remember to look this time either, whether or not it was always like that and it was just a mistake from the original build, or if something I did with the roofing changed it. Because if you've played very long with The Sims, you know, you can like pull a wall or move a roof or something, and all of a sudden part of the wall decor will change. So the wallpaper of it will just suddenly change. So I really don't know what the deal was there. I'm going to assume that it did just change for some reason, and maybe the original structure had that sort of brick on there. Don't know. Don't care really. Not enough to really investigate it or even remember it so that I could keep track. Let me go here. Let me put a grid on there. Now we're going to put a partial wall here. We're going to put a pony wall on here. I want the chimney to stick above the house. So from the front, we have a little bit more, I'm going to use this word again, architectural interest from the street, right? So that it looks a little bit more, you know, interesting, right? That's why we call it architectural interest. It's going to look a little bit more interesting from the street. Also, this is, if you want to upload something to the gallery, it'll make it look a little bit more interesting in the picture on the gallery. So maybe it'll attract people's attention a little bit easier. Now, I'm not really overly interested, or I'm not overly concerned with that. I think we're all interested. We all like to share our stuff because we want people to, you know, enjoy it and stuff, sure. But I'm not so concerned that, I mean, nowadays with the gallery's so screwed up. You know, you guys, the gallery is so screwed up that like if you post something, someone like the only people that are going to download it are the ones that are going to see it in like the first 3 minutes that it exists on the gallery, right? First 3 minutes, and then maybe something like this. If you share it through some sort of social media outlet, then they might see it that way and go download it. Let's see here. How much did that help? That helped a lot. I think that's going to work pretty well there. So let's take this one. Let's bring it down a little bit there. This one might be a little bit harder to line up. We're going to try though. We're going to try kind of doing this. How did that work? Not really great. Not really great. You know what we can do? Let's lower it. Let's lower it just a little bit. See if that kind of fixes some of our issues there. That's a little bit better. That works a little bit better. I'm going to just try one more thing here and see if I can just get that. Yeah, so that's not too bad. Now the shingles do not match up exactly, but I think it gives us a nice enough little effect here on the side. And I think I'm going to go ahead and bring this down a little bit as well. I may have to adjust it again over here. No, it's fine. Well, maybe a little bit right there, right? Let's see here. Do that. That's probably close enough. I'm not going to agonize over there. And I'm getting ready to put, this sort of stuff. What is this stuff called? I don't know. That's one of the big changes we're going to make here. And again, it's one of the things I'm kind of perplexed by because this particular sort of thatch roofing did come with cottage living. Cottage living, that's where we are, cottage living. And it doesn't cost anything. So you can use any type of roofing. And I'm really surprised they fell back on the base game roofing. Now, one thing I've theorized before, and I think it again here, is that maybe when someone's building this, they don't have a complete set of assets from the new pack. Like maybe they don't know exactly what's going to go in the new pack. The decision hasn't been made yet or something. I really don't know. But I do think it's interesting that seems to be the case so often with some of these builds. Is like, why didn't you go ahead and just use the stuff that came with the pack? Why wouldn't you do that? Now, if it's a lot more expensive, I get it. Especially with a starter, you can't afford to, but most of the time it's not. So I don't get it. We're going to put a little round window there, and I'm actually going to take this window out because I think in this bedroom, this is going to be the kids' bedroom. I'll put like this little stained glass window here. That's what I used before, and it's going to have like we're going to use a little fox one. I love the little fox. So cute. Look at that. Just adorable. I don't know what colors we've got here for the fox. We've got that for the fox. Let's go with that one. Now, again, like I said, whenever Maxis builds, for some reason, they shove the windows all the way up to the roof. Why? I don't know. That's how a window looks, right? It's like that. Now, someone could put their window all the way up by the roof. I've seen that. I have seen that in real life, especially like maybe here in a bathroom, you might see it placed quite a bit higher. I'm not going to do it with the Sims because I think it just kind of looks ridiculous, but I definitely have seen it with a bathroom and in some other instances as well. But typically, no. I mean, you want the window down where people can actually see out of the window. We're going to center this window as well in what has kind of been defined as the new original kind of hall area. And that's kind of what I feel like with this redesign here of the interior, is that originally you just had one long, narrow house here, a long, narrow hall. And then over time, maybe, they bumped it out to make a kitchen. They bumped it out again to make a bathroom. Over here, again, they might have bumped it out to put in an original fireplace. Then they moved it over here and bumped it out again to make a new fireplace, right? And same thing with the bedrooms. Bedrooms, they just added on as they needed them. Let's put this here, move our doors around. Now, here with the fireplace, there is a new fireplace with cottage living. And again, they had a fire, what do you call that? A smokestack? What is that? A chimney. A chimney. They have a chimney, but they did not have an actual fireplace inside the room. And the fireplaces are not that expensive. They're only $500, which again, yeah, with a starters are, it is hard. It's hard because you've got a really tight budget with a starter. But I don't know. This is going to come in on budget because I've already finished it. Well, not finished. I got it to a point where it was finished. I'm going to go through debug and add a lot more landscaping before I consider it finished. But I got it to a point where I could say, this is finished with no debug usage, and you could download it as a starter. And I think you had $750 left at the end. That's what I think. I think so. We're going to take this particular thing here. Now, we don't have to, and if I needed extra money, or if you downloaded this and you felt like you needed extra money, you could take this off. I'm just doing it as a decoration because it kind of makes sense, right? It kind of makes sense that you might have some cabinetry built in around your fireplace with a building like this, with a cottage like this. So I put it in there just for decor. With starters, I do not always do that. Again, like I said, for money reasons, there's a lot of times I'm just going to leave it off because we just don't have the money to do it. Now there's a little wallpaper here with some rabbits in it. It was this one. So cute. Nice little kind of green color. And I love the rabbits. We got rabbits with this particular pack, which is one of my favorite things in the game, is to use the little rabbit stump. And I'll use it in like public parks, regular homes, backyards. I use it all over the place. In my own part of that's in my own house. I back up to a green belt, and more than once, not every year, but more than once, there'll be rabbits living in the backyard. Some people don't like that. I actually think my neighbors tried to poison the rabbits at one point. Maybe they were even successful, which I don't know. They're going to have to spend some time in purgatory for that, I think, because, let's face it, we're in the rabbit's home. And so, plus, I just don't care if they eat the grass. I really don't. I hate grass. I hate a lawn. I hate like the suburban lawn idea. I hate that. So that little rabbit laid out in my backyard and ate up the grass and ate circles in it. And I think the urine kills the grass. I don't care. Kill the whole damn yard. It'll grow back. That's one thing about Bermuda grass here in the United States. I don't know what they use in the rest of the world, but here in the United States, we use Bermuda grass in a lot of suburban applications. And that stuff, it doesn't die. I mean, it comes back. If there's one single piece of it left, not even in the ground, like say you tried to remove the whole thing and you left one little piece back behind by mistake, fell off the truck when you were taking it all the clippings to the dump, you will have Bermuda grass again. And within a year, the whole yard's going to be covered. That's why everyone in Oklahoma uses it, because we live in a really drought type of area. We don't get much rain and it's hot. And Bermuda grass dries, it grows with no water and in the heat, like in the desert. So, yeah, but I hate it. I don't like it. So, yeah, let them eat it all. Fine with me. We're going to put this bed. This is the bed that came with this new pack. And it looks gorgeous. Again, I don't know why you would use the base game bed. Base game bed is kind of ugly. I think I went with this, but again, is there a version? I did go with this. I went with blue. I'm going to go with the blue again. And I turned this carpet to blue, I think, as well. Yes, that one right there. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of these. Actually, let me keep that. I do want to keep that. That also came with this pack. That's going to be our bookshelf. Really quick and easy way to have a bookshelf. It's super cheap, right? It doesn't cost very much. Now, I don't see the end. Here it is. I'm about to say I don't see the end table for beds, but it is here, and it does work with the bed. So we're going to put these blue ones in here. And I think it comes in a green or a yellow. Let's go with the green. I don't see the color I actually use. This green kind of clashes with the furniture, but I changed the color of the furniture. So maybe I did use the green. That would make sense. I would have used the green and then just maybe changed the color of the furniture to yellow. I think I did change that chair to yellow, and I might have changed this to, I don't remember for sure. It doesn't matter. I can always bring the one I built here in a minute, right? When I reach a certain point, spring that and drop it in its place. Here in this room, I'm going to move this over because originally it was moved over. We'll put this bed underneath it. And then I gave this room a desk and a computer, because we got a new computer with this particular pack that was super cool. I just love it. It's almost like a steampunk type of computer. So I really, 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 really loved it. We're going to take this chair and put it here as our desk chair, and we'll put another one here. That way, if you want to have people over for four, dining for four, you can go in build mode real quick and move things around just like you would do in real life, right? Just like you do in real life. Bring this extra chair out from your office and have 4 people for dinner. If it feels too crowded too, I'll just move the chair over by the door or something, which also kind of does make sense. This is, especially if you can't afford a table and you want to have a little bit of decor, you can just put the chair here, kind of under this window like that, give it a little bit of a look. I think I'll leave that there. We're going to take out both of these light fixtures. I think in the end, I just went ahead and used the standard puck light in these rooms. Just this old trusty. I might change it, and I remember thinking, actually last night, I might change those, depending on how much money I had left, right? But for now, we'll go ahead and we'll put them in there. On the walls, I didn't use this, that's for sure. My thought is I must have used this sort of wallpaper, though I do think I used the wallpaper from this pack. We're going to go with this kind of deep green in here, which is, quite pretty. It is a pretty look. We'll go with that. I don't think I put a rug in here. I couldn't afford it. And I did leave this flooring. Now, I might change the flooring. I might change it to the lighter tone. We'll see kind of as we get a little bit further into this. Now, this is a really expensive computer, but I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite. I use it in a lot of different builds, not just cottage living. I just love the way it looks. I wish I could find this computer. If I could find this in real life, oh my God, I'd buy it so quickly. I sure would. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I wouldn't. It probably costs like $10,000. I'm like, no, never mind. It does look cool. It doesn't look $10,000 cool. And it's not $10,000 here, but it is $1,400, which is kind of expensive. You can see we took a pretty big jump there. And we haven't made the kitchen yet or finished the bathroom. So we've got to be careful, a little bit careful with our money. One thing I did pull in here from this particular pack, I'm going to get rid of this plant. I did not keep the plant. Again, this particular pack has plants with this pack, and it has some activities. It has like needlepoint with this pack. So we're going to pull in needlepoint and put it here in the living room. I really wish that was a more vibrant yellow because I do want to bring some yellows in here. So I wish it was this color yellow. It's not. So I think I'm going to just go with a red. I'm going to just go with a red and just call it good. Now this is one of our new indoor plants. I'm going to put it back over here. So instead of having a plant on the table, we're going to just do kind of a little floor plant like that, a little standing floor. Now for our kitchen, I'm going to go ahead and do, I don't know, I'm real tempted to do this yellow. I did not do the yellow. I did this green, and I use this green quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and just use it for now. I might change my mind, but I doubt it. I also tend to fall back on sort of the green version of the refrigerator and the green version of the stove. The stove, I like the color green. So that's one reason. The refrigerator kind of reminds me of a 1950s refrigerator, and avocado green was real popular back then. So that's part of why I chose green there, is because in my head, when I see like a refrigerator like that, it's kind of comes across as green, my memory. So, and then I just want the stove to match. Now, this stove is not a 1950s stove. This stove is definitely a, much, much older stove. But I think the green's really pretty on it, so we're going to go with the green, and then we need to put in a sink. This is not a very big kitchen. In fact, I'm going to take this out. We're going to use this particular sink here. This is not a very big kitchen, but that's okay. The Sims won't care. They will use it this size. And again, I think for a cottage, I think it kind of fits, right? I mean, you're not going to have a very big kitchen necessarily in a little cottage, so it does fit for us. We are up to $15,811. Somehow I know this comes in on budget. Now we have this tub that comes with the pack. I don't think I did use this tub. I think in the end I used the base game tub that looks a little bit old-fashioned, but is, a couple of $100 cheaper. In the end, if I save enough money, then I will go ahead and swap it out with the tub from the new pack. The original thing I did is I had the toilet here in the original build, and I had the sink here. And then my thought was, if I had enough money, or in real life, I would put like one of those cabinets that's by the fireplace. I'd put that here. That would act as a sort of linen cabinet for the bathroom. we don't actually have the money for that being a starter. If I was going to do this as a family starter, we would have enough money and I would do it that way, but we're not. I'm still doing this as something for a single sim. So that is why that empty space is there. Now, that being the case, we could move the sink down here and the toilet here. And then the tub, you know, has the full range of space that sometimes tubs need. This one does not need that. It seems like normally tubs are like 4. No, that one's not either. That's weird. Some reason in my head, is it this one? It's that one. Tubs in my head always have 4 grids, like it needs a 4 grid. It doesn't, right? Obviously it doesn't. I don't know why, but I do think that, even right now in my head, I think that's the case. We're going to move this particular light fixture in here instead of the other one. Again, the light fixtures, if I absolutely had to do it to save money, I would, but they're not, it's not going to save us that much money, so it'd have to be kind of a crisis situation. I'm going to treat these light fixtures as though they were installed when it was one long, narrow house. So we're going to try to put it kind of in the middle here, and we'll do this one the same way. We'll kind of line it up there over the middle of the rug. Now we're up to $16,421, which is actually better than I remember it being, and I don't know how I could have I couldn't have saved more money this time around. Surely not. Now, oh, you know, now I don't have wall coverings in here yet. Maybe that's part of it. And I think I did this particular wallpaper, but maybe in blue. Yeah, maybe like that is yeah, I would have spent a little bit more money there, but not a lot. And I'm not even sure I actually want to use that wallpaper. To me, the wallpaper is getting a little busy. You know, we're getting a lot of wallpaper in this build. Now that may be English. Is that English? Am I missing something? It might be. I've been to England. I've actually been to London 3 different times. And there's not very many cottages in central London. So I really don't know what a cottage would look like in England. I looked up a few kind of images for my other build, the sort of tower build. This one, I'm just winging it, right? I'm just winging it. I'm just building a cottage for my head. The sort of stereotypical idea of what an American has for how an English cottage looks, right? We're going to do the same thing when it comes to doing a cottage, like an English garden. Like, I don't know. I've never seen an English garden in person, but I had this idea of what an English garden is, and it probably has no basis in reality, but that's what I'm going to go with. And we'll do that here in a little bit. Now, we could do maybe wallpaper like this. How much is that? $6? No, that's a little bit expensive. This is $2. This is not too bad. This is a little bit more expensive. It does come in kind of a nice little check, and it's got kind of a wooden, you know, bottom to it, which does match the rest of the house. Does it come in a blue check with a wooden bottom? Yes. So let's do that. Since our bedrooms, if we're going to have wallpaper, I guess we're going to have wallpaper. I was just saying it had too much wallpaper. Like, we're going to have wallpaper. We're going to go ahead and have the wallpaper. And we'll go ahead and change the color of this to maybe green. I might take that out. Oh, you know what? I am going to take it out. I did take it out because, again, this is $400, and there's a new dresser with this particular game, or this pack. There's a brand new dresser, and they didn't use the dresser for some reason. They used that old thing, and yet it's only like $15 more. So, again, we're not talking about so much money that it's going to make that much difference. We're going to change it to blue to match our end tables. We're getting more of a match look in here, which I do like. I'm going to take our books here. We're going to put them out here on the coffee table. I don't know if I'm going to keep this coffee table. I need to look and see if a coffee table came with this pack. I can't remember. I think I kept this coffee table so far in the last build, as far as the last build went. I do think I kept it, but I don't know. Let's change that to yellow. So I'm going to bring a little yellow into this room. Let's change that to yellow, and we're going to swing that around like that. You know why? I do like it like that. That way we can see the bindings, and it gives us a little bit more color here, a little bit more, like if you're walking in through the front door, that's a little bit more of an attractive vignette. And especially since I don't even know if I'm going to keep this coffee table, I probably will put something there. It's a cheap table. So I say that was like $110, you know, so it is pretty cheap. And there is no end table from this particular pack. I love using this. This is the TV stand, and I actually think it fits this environment better. But I don't, it's a little expensive. This is the cheap table, but again, with this type of sofa, probably this sort of table is the one we want. I think I'm going to go ahead and change that to wood. Let's bring it into a wood tone, and maybe we'll change, maybe lighten this up a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I like that color or not. Maybe like that. Is that where we were? No. Yeah, that's fine. That made it a little bit lighter, but still a very warm tone. Now, is there something that kind of matches in this? I'm going to stick with that for now. We might change it. Now, the house is really getting to a point where I think it was, when the power went out, right? The interior. Now, this particular roof here, I took it like very angled. Let me take a look here. Let's see if I can remember how I did it. And again, I kind of brought, let's see here, kind of tried to make it a little more, there we go, a little more rounded like that, right? And then let's kind of make it a little bit pointy. Not exactly like sort of a witch's house, right? But a little more of a fairy tale looking sort of entrance. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try bringing it up just a little bit. Something kind of like that. I like that. I think that looks pretty good. One thing I also had on this, I'm surprised I did it because a lot of times I feel like I can't afford a lot of decorative stuff, but I think I went ahead and put an additional awning over the front of this particular house. So like this. But I think I don't know, I feel like I may have made it smaller. So like that, right? Let's lift it up a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and we'll change the tone of it. Now, one thing I don't like about this is it covers up the butterfly on the door. You can't see the butterfly because of the awning. I don't really, maybe if I move it like that makes it a little bit better. Then you kind of can. We'll go with that for now. We'll see if I end up keeping it. I'm going to need some sort of stairs to get us into this house. Naturally, I'm going to use the cheapest stairs, and we're going to take out this underside to save some money. Now, if you've seen anything I ever have done using stairs like this, any sort of stairs, that's what I always do. Because you'll save sometimes a lot of money by erasing that wall underneath it. And a lot of times if you want a wall, you can just draw the standard walls that we make rooms with along the edge of the stairs. Now then the stairs can't be open, right? But you can just draw a wall along the stairs, and it's cheaper than the wall that's built up underneath the stairs. We'll throw a quick change on that, change of color. Make it look a little bit more of like what we have here. It's not exactly the same, and I think I might have, is this closer? No, how about this? It's a little bit closer in tone. I would love for it to look like this, and this is made out of the same stuff. It's kind of the idea I have in my head. It's all the same price, so that looks a little bit closer. I'm going to go with that for now. It does, it looks a little bit closer. Now, let's move this tree over here. And then we're going to double the size, make it super size, right? It's America. Super size me. So we're going to make it super sized here. We're going to move our mailbox over here. We're going to bring in our fence around here. We're going to fence in our little garden area and our little chicken area. I don't know that we actually have to do this, except I think we do, right? Except I'm thinking that we do. I'm trying to remember. Like, I know the foxes will go after the rabbits, and by go after the rabbits, I mean eat the rabbits, right? Don't they eat the rabbits? Yeah. And I think they'll go after the chickens as well. So you have to put a sort of gate and, how much is that gate? 40? Oh, that's cheap. Okay. You have to put a gate and fence around it, kind of keep them out. Now, speaking of rabbits, one thing I'm missing here is the rabbit stump and our birds, because we're going to put a little outdoor seating area over here with some birds, and we're going to put a little outdoor seating area over here with some rabbits. We're going to put our little rabbits over here, kind of give them the reign of this yard. I'm going to try, I think there's a way you can get onto the fox and maybe keep it from eating the rabbit. Like you can ask it not to eat the rabbits, right? Try that in real life. If you have a fox that's trying, or a dog even, because dogs will also eat chickens. If you live out in the country in America, or been out in the country and you know someone, sometimes in the city too, actually where I live in, the city I live in, you can have chickens, you know, in your backyard. So if you have chickens and you know a dog does not recognize the difference between your pet chicken and any other fowl, right? Any other bird, and they will happily gobble it up for you. So yeah, I mean, I think in the game you can ask, please don't eat my chicken, and maybe the fox will do it, maybe they won't. But in real life, don't try that. It won't work. It won't. Now, you know, I'm going to go through here again and I'm going to put in this terrain paint. I feel like I should just download the other build at this point and just stick it right in the place of this. Because all we're going to do now is we're going to do landscaping. And I've already got some terrain paint kind of outlined on that. So I might just do that. I don't know if I've got the exact same build though. I do think I changed. Well, you know what? I also changed this stuff in here. Because I put in different tile in the bathroom. I went ahead and used this particular tile on the walls. And even the floor I changed out to kind of a nice sort of like green there. Give it a little bit of pop of color in there. Pretty sure it's what I did. So this is where we stand, right? This is where we stand right now. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a picture of it down. And it'd be interesting to see how different it is, I guess, right? I could save this. I could save this real quick and I could go in and get it and drop it. And let's see how it changes from this view. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to swap out this build with my original one. We'll see how close I got in the meantime, trying to just rebuild it. Okay, so no, you know, I was a little bit wrong. I had saved this house in my library at an earlier point. That's what I put down just a second ago. This is actually, I went back out to the save, you know, the original where I saved the game, reloaded it. This is kind of where I ended when the power went out. So you can kind of see I was working over here with the little rabbit's house and going to build kind of a pathway out over here with a lot of flowers up around it. I was going to have to use debug quite a bit to get there. In fact, I was using debug quite a bit to get there. These actually had come from debug, as had these bushes here. So, and this stuff here. So, you know, this is really where it stood. This is where it stood. I'm going to change this wallpaper to the wallpaper that I used on the last build, because I do like that check, even though it was a little more expensive. I do like the check pattern there with the wood underneath it. It fits better than this does, than what we see here. And that changes that back to kind of where we were. And I think that's about it. I did have the sofa at a brown color, but I'm going to leave it at that green, I think. I think so. For now, we're going to leave it alone. This I had changed to a wooden color. As you can see here in the original, I did have it as green and white. I'm going to leave that alone as well. I think I've changed my mind on that again. Oh, and I had a clock. Put a clock in place. Okay. So there's a few differences here that had a little bit off. But all in all, I think just using my memory, I kind of got there. I kind of got pretty close. Oh, and I left the toilet paper. I'm going to take that out. And we do need to save a little bit of money. We are running a little bit high on this particular build. A little bit higher than I want to be. But basically, this is what the build would look like without any debug items. Okay, so if I were just doing a base game type of build, I might change this stuff around a little bit, move a couple of these little bushy type of flowers out here by this tree with the rabbits. But that's about it. This is basically how I probably would have put it. I like it this way because we have the birds, we have the rabbits, and we also have a computer and the what is this called, like needlepoint, the needlepoint set that came with this particular pack. So it gives us some more options. Now I don't think price wise I didn't do as great as I would like. Now I could take this out pretty easily. We really don't need that. Let's take a look and see how much this is going to cost before I get into, debug items. So it's 19,754. That's better. That's better. It's a little bit cheaper than the original. And again, we did put in a computer and we put in needlepoint. So those two things, I do feel like, and we put in the rabbits and the birds. So we've got, 4 different activity items that we did not have before. And we have upgraded some things, like the bed is a better bed, stuff like that. We brought in some of the items from the pack. So all in all, I'm not too unhappy with it. I would like to see it a little bit cheaper, and it could be cheaper. I could just take out some of the landscaping pretty easily, take out a couple of trees or something, save a little bit of money there. Wouldn't be that hard to do. Okay, we're getting kind of close to the end here, getting into our landscaping. I'm going to kind of draw in. I'm a terrain paint master, I'm going to try to draw in a little bit of a little pathway back here to this sort of area under the tree, like so. We're gonna have to add a little bit more to that, kind of dress it up at least a little bit more. And we're going to add some more vegetation in here too, but I think kind of increase the dirt here, like where you can see someone's been walking regularly, right? I really wanted to have enough money to put and I guess I might have that much money. I might leave it so that whoever downloads it can make that decision what they want to spend the money on. But I would love to have the money to put, like a little chair over here, maybe a little chair and tables back over here in order to enjoy the outsides. But, those are pretty cheap to buy. And I think it's something that the player could buy pretty quickly after getting paid and stuff, and move into a nicer house at the start. Now, as I've already said, in base game debug, we have a ton of different free landscape items. And I'm going to do a very big, bushy English garden type of look. And these bushes also came from debug. So even though these are in the pay landscape menu where you pay for them, you can find them in debug, of course, for free. So I'm going to take a look here and see what all we have to work with. We have a lot to work with. And what I really want, though, is to kind of decide, I don't know. I mean, English gardens use a lot of different sort of flowers, but I don't know if I want to get too crazy with too much stuff. It might look too chaotic. I guess we'll kind of see as I go along here. I'm really hoping, because I'm almost positive they're in here, that I can find these wildflowers. Then I can just I can find the trees for sure. That's the first thing I need to keep an eye on. So I can take out these trees, and save the money there. But I want to replace the wildflowers as well. Aha, see, here's a little group of flowers which are kind of like wildflowers. Now they're not exactly, and they look different than these other ones. That's fine. We can have a lot of different types of flowers in a sort of English garden concept. I really do like the way these look. They're really quite pretty. In fact, I don't recall necessarily seeing these in game. They must be in game somewhere. Like those other ones back there, I recall all the time. Somehow I don't really recall seeing this particular type of wildflower. I'm gonna hope that it is possible to interact with that trunk. I may have to make that a little bit smaller. Like we can do it like that, right? That way the sim can actually get up here and interact with the rabbit trunk. This particular tree right here, this is the free version. I think that it makes a pretty good stand-in for that tree that I just deleted right there. So we'll go with that. We also have this particular tree, and it would work as a really good stand-in for this tree over here. So we're going to take this one out, and we'll put this a bit like that. I think that's okay. I might adjust those a little bit, adjust the kind of positioning of them. We'll see. We'll see as we kind of go along. But I think it looks all right. Nothing too bad. I try to be kind of careful when placing these particular items. I can never remember, I mean, it does show a grid outline there in green. That sometimes is where Sims won't walk, right? So that operates as a barrier to prevent them from crossing certain items. I don't know if that's the case with these or not. We're going to find out when I play test it. I hope not, because I want to kind of put them there pretty close to this little dirt path to act as a sort of, you know, liner for our pathway. I'm going to use these little purple flowers, especially since so far I haven't come across any of the wildflowers, as a sort of ground cover. The great thing about that is it might actually act as a sort of a way of unifying the look of this place. If this is kind of one of our primary themes, I think. I'm still really worried it's just going to end up looking like way too chaotic. And there's just going to be stuff everywhere, which is kind of the English garden look, right? Kind of the English garden look as Americans anyway, this American imagines it, is that it's just kind of this mishmash of different like little, you know, precious flowers, right? This is sort of adorable sort of look of everything just growing together, almost wild, almost like a wild look. The bad thing about using debug instead of just buying plants, of course, is that I can't place them and have it auto place another one, you know, by holding down shift. I have to go and grab one each time. And also everything in debug is just called debug. So it's really difficult to find stuff again when I want it again. Now I did it last. Here we go. Found these wildflowers that I've been looking for. The ones that I've got, you know, here at the front. Now I guess I could go ahead and look at maybe swapping some of these out for this free stuff, right? For this free stuff. I don't know. I gotta think about it. My thought is yes, because I do want to bring down the price of this particular build a little bit. So we're going to go in, of course, and just continue to put in additional debug landscaping like we've kind of got here. This gives a really good idea of what it's going to look like at the end. Now, once I get a lot of the plants in, I'm going to come in with some additional terrain paint. We're going to go in darker along the edge of the plants, because that would be the area, like, you know, when you water plants, naturally they tend to hold that moisture near them for longer. So the pathway is going to dry out because it's in the sun, but the area around the plants is going to continue to be kind of moist. So we're going to shadow that in some here. Now, I often don't go through this much trouble. I'm going to at this particular garden. I don't know why, because I guess I have the time today. I am off work right now. I'm off work right now because it is the 4th of July here in the United States. I always take off work for the 4th of July. And it's also my son's birthday. It was his 18th birthday yesterday. No, not yesterday. Yesterday was the 4th of July. The day before yesterday was his 18th birthday. He is an adult now, all grown up, breaking my heart, of course. Really is breaking my heart. It happens really, everyone says stuff like that happens really fast. It happens really fast, you guys. It does happen really, really, really fast. I did not expect him to suddenly be essentially an adult. But he is. He is, so there you go. I'm going to bring this in here. We'll go ahead and just fill it in a little bit more. And I don't know, that might be too subtle. I mean, I feel like this should be a whole lot darker. I can make it a little bit darker, but it's not coming across that dark. I'm going to go through maybe instead and if we go in with that, that's too much. This is why I don't like terrain paint, if anybody's wondering. Let's come in with this and maybe just lighten this up through here a little bit. You know, so that the part in the middle does look a little bit dried out, and then towards the edge it's going to look a little bit, you know, heavier, a little bit darker. Bring some along here a little bit. That's not too bad. I think that's basically the look we're going to end up with, is something like this. So it'll curve around back here in a path, and I'll make a sort of little seating area here. Same thing with all those other paths that you see along there. They're all going to be lined out with landscaping. It's going to take forever. It's going to take forever. But this is what I'm committed to doing with this particular look for this starter. Now, again, this will be a starter price. Let me take a look real quick. I took out some of the landscaping. I took out the trees. I'm going to go ahead and take out probably this here as well. I won't have to give someone a starter with quite as low an amount of money left, right? Might give them a little bit more. I'm gonna put that there. That's actually it's a little bit big. It's a lot big. Let's go ahead and shrink that down a little bit. So we can go with that. That's going to save us a little bit of money as well. I'll have to go through here and see what I've paid for and what I haven't paid for. Let's take a quick look and see how much money we spent. We're at $17,764. So that shouldn't be too bad of an amount left at the end. It says this is $19,614. There are a couple more little landscape things I can pull out, and I am going to pull out. So that's going to bring it down a little bit further. My hope is we're going to get this down to $19,500. We'll see when it's done. I'll post a picture of the final price in the pictures. But I think I can get it down to $19,500. I do. I think I can get it down to $19,500. And that's not great. That's not my ideal for a starter. But I think for this starter, this is a 2-bedroom, right? For a single person to be able to afford a 2-bedroom with this beautiful garden, right? This absolutely beautiful garden, you guys. Like, it looks like Martha Stewart lives here or something. So yeah, for sure. I think it's a pretty good deal. And if I can figure out a few other ways I might be able to save some money, I might do that as well. I thought about taking the garden plots out, to be honest. You really don't have to have them in order to garden, but they did come with the kit, so I hate to do that. Or with the pack kits. Everything's a kit to me now. They did come with the pack, but we'll see where it ends when it's ended, and you'll be looking at that right now. I'll start rolling those pictures through here of the final finished result. And please hit like, subscribe, and notify. Like always, please hit like, subscribe, and notify. There will be more gentrification to come, as well as more marketplace reviews. I think there's another, I know there is. I know there's another marketplace drop already, but it was just a small clutter kit, like a small maybe kitchen clutter kit, and 2 small free drops. So I wasn't super interested in doing a full review video for something that little. So I'll probably wait, but there'll be other stuff coming, and so there'll be more reviews coming for sure down the pike. But for now, this is what we have. I think it looks pretty good. I really do like it. Again, it's a starter price place for a single couple or even a family, and it comes in at a great starter price with a really great sort of English cottage look. So again, please hit like, subscribe, and notify. And until that next video, of course, like always, thanks for watching.